So I'm at the Lake Chalet, and he's Thomas. Say hi, Thomas.
Hi, Thomas.
Like that. And we're going to talk about how he made the transition from lawyer to artist as soon as he gets an extension cord, right?
Right. Well, it's sort of like the transition from cliff to valley.
Yeah, exactly.
The extension cord will make me feel much better.
Extension cord coming up. Cool. All right.
Even though I do have a screwdriver.
So you got the battery down here, computer over there, and that thing over there. I get it. All right, so Thomas has his extension cord, and so Thomas, what is this, first of all? What is this contraption?
This is a cheap scanner. It's a flatbed scanner, just like the kind you have at home.
But you're not actually using it to scan.
Well, sure I am.
Wait a minute.
You know that little thing that says, do not open the document cover?
Yeah.
You can open the document cover.
So
you can remove the document.
This is a live scan we're doing right now, right here, right?
Correct window. That's exactly what it is.
So show us what you're scanning.
Well, I'm scanning you. I just scanned us.
Let's see. It's wild.
I don't know how well you'll record a digital image, but
This is wild. Yes, Epson scan, it says, right there.
Right, exactly. And we don't want to reveal all the tricks, but we remain basically still. Mm-hmm. And so, because of that, you don't really see us. You see?
Oh,
it's a big blur.
Interesting.
But if I show you the whole scene, if I do a panorama,
Yeah.
which I can do, I think, by going like this. See, the scanner sees much in the same way a digital camera sees, much in the same way your video camera sees, much unlike film. So if you do the entire scene, you just start like this.
Interesting. Well, I get it. It's scanning now.
Right.
Right, so we're being scanned as I speak. So if I hold completely still, theoretically I'll be scanned, right?
Well, actually, if you hold completely still, and as soon as I'm done scanning us, I'll explain.
Okay, sounds right.
The scanner records the differences in a certain angle of view, line by line. So if there's no difference from one line to the next, everything's a big blur. But if some part of the image moves, then there's a difference between the two lines, and that creates a form, a shape. Now I just moved the whole thing, and in doing so, hopefully, there.
Oh, neat.
So
That's me in.
This is actually us.
That's us in Thomas Vision.
Right. See,
That is cool.
you're kind of in the background. Sorry to say.
Yeah.
Right.
So when did you were a lawyer? So tell my viewers about your transition. We'll start from there, because you have a fascinating story, I think.
Well,
You were doing criminal defense work.
I was doing criminal defense work, and that has a lot to do with it, probably, because I thought a lot about it and haven't come to any real conclusions, except that I really loved the work, I believed in the work, but I wasn't ready to give every moment of my life to it, and that's what I had to do, I felt.
But at one point, you're really into it. You had some pretty high-profile cases
Well, not all that high profile, but I had some.
locally,
And, locally, yeah. And mostly I was riding the coattails of more experienced attorneys, fabulous attorneys, and wonderful experiences. That's actually what led to this scanning.
Huh.
I was doing I was processing the autopsy images in the murder trial where the victim was Eddie Guanarajo, and I was processing images of her after post-mortem images, which were horrible. And so
What happened to her?
She, I can't talk all that much about it because I'm sure part of it's still up on appeal somewhere. But she was killed by one or more of a group of 4 young men in Fremont. She didn't have anyone to identify with. She was a transgender. We refer to her.
I remember that. I remember the case.
She was actually very beautiful as a woman.
Right.
She lived as a woman since she was 12. And so out of respect, we refer to her as a woman, even though she was genetically a male.
Huh. And she was beaten up by people in Fremont, I believe. These
Right.
men, right. Yeah.
Well, the story is that she tricked them into sex, and when they figured out what had happened, their manhood was threatened, and there are lots of different allegations of what happened, but it's a tragedy all around. And it's really something that, it was a bizarre experience.
Was that the breaking point for you?
No, not really. That was the last effort to make good. that was a gesture towards the attorney I worked for, Bill Dubois,
Yeah.
who had been like a father to me.
I know Bill. Good man.
Bill's a fabulous guy and
Yeah,
an amazing lawyer, and there were actually moments.
Oh, it is Zenny. My wife said you would
Hi.
Hi there.
This is what happens when you live in Oakland. Yeah.
He wants to know what you're doing.
Hold on a second. Keep talking. So this is like, this is a good way that Thomas meets people, but we already actually know
Right,
each
I don't
other,
get
so it's
out
like,
much.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
so,
you don't get out much.
you know, this is better than a puppy for me because actually it is an incredibly social experience walking
Yeah.
out these things. People
Well,
walk
I've
up to
been
you.
watching you for what, an hour and a half? It's like, what is all this?
hell is that guy
hiding?
There's like
Where
Catholic
everybody's
stuff over
got?
there.
Only
And then that
once did
eye. Look at
somebody
that eye. Look at
really
the eye.
think that I was a terrorist. And that was in Tahoe. And the guy really, I think,
I
thought
figured, no, it's Oakland, you're an artist.
But I've tamed it down. It used to be that I would have like sparks and puffs of smoke coming out of my bag. And everything.
Would you ever thought that he was a criminal defense attorney at one point?
Never, ever crossed my mind.
You've successfully made the transition. You're an
I
artist.
guess so.
Criminal
Right.
defense.
Yeah.
Have fun.
What do you do?
I'm an environmental engineer.
Ah,
The lake is very meaningful to me.
but lake's very meaningful to me too.
Yeah.
Isn't this a beautiful setting?
I've spent a lot of time on and in the lake, actually. Well, a little time in the lake, more time
You tried to not
on
get
and
in the
around.
lake, but you tried to be on a
Well,
boat
when
surface
you're
on
learning
top or
the El
something.
Toro,
Yeah.
at 12 years old.
It's almost like the Macarena, isn't it?
When I
Well,
was
there's
12,
a lot
my
of mystery
father
about
was learning to sail here.
Well, so you grew up around here.
I did.
What can you tell me about the lake?
Well, I volunteered for many years on environmental causes at the lake, so I can tell you about its history, how it was created,
This is the first toll bridge west of the Mississippi, isn't it? Across
that
the lake.
I don't remember because I know more things
didn't know
about
that, really.
it's not very deep. I think
Right.
it hits maybe 12 feet. It's
Oh, man.
tidal, so it's one of two tidal lakes in the United States. I think just
Hey,
two.
so are you going to make an artist of the toll
Pontchartrain?
bridge when it's like?
Well, it was a toll bridge. It was the first toll bridge back in the township of Oakland, back before it was a city. And this was
But there's another first. It's much more meaningful to me.
already
What's
was
that?
That's the first bird wildlife refuge.
Yes.
So you've gone backyard bird watching? Because you can do that around here.
I do a little bit of it. Oh, and it has like the highest viewer to acre ratio. This is like the best opportunity for environmental education that
Wow.
you can have.
Well, yeah, it used to be a story of disaster.
Right.
I remember the days of the green monster.
It was a sewage.
Yes.
Well, no, we don't remember how it used to be. I mean, it used to be that sewage was untreated and it just flowed down the creeks and it flowed to Lake Merritt and out. And that's why the houses faced away from the lake.
Hey,
Because of the
would you
odor.
buy some of his stuff, by the way?
Would I buy
hasn't
some of
seen
this
it
stuff? I've
Oh.
only seen the eye, which
Right,
I
well,
wouldn't
no.
buy.
I actually
You wouldn't buy the
I
eye.
wouldn't.
I do some very lovely high resolution images of flowers as well, so they're very
cool.
easily purchased. But I have a lot of questions. I grew up about a quarter mile on the other side of the lake. My grandparents were born on 41st Street. My great-grandparents came to Oakland from Ireland. So, but there's a lot of mystery about the lake among a lot of people that I know. What's going on down there with the renovation?
Yeah.
You gotta
This-
call Joel
this is
Peter.
part of the
Fiber optic
renovation.
cable. This is where the conversation will get
Really?
chilled. Yeah. Well, there's fiber optic cable being laid.
That's what we wondered. That's all that green.
Well, you don't know.
No. We didn't. But we've
Well,
been
I don't know
watching
either. I'm
that
guessing.
going up the road.
But if you notice, they spent a lot of money on the center divides, but nothing on the potholes in the road itself.
I've noticed that.
Isn't that
That's
odd?
always the
Yeah,
case.
I've noticed that. I've noticed that.
That's always
Why
the
were
case.
there
Yeah,
24-hour guards? It's all very mysterious. Yes.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that great?
Why does it have to go up Park Boulevard as fiber optic?
Oh, I have no idea. What I love about it is
How
that
far
people
up is it gonna
dance
go?
on Sundays there. Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea. Fiber optic is just a guess. It's actually my sister's guess.
Talking about over on the cross the lake,
The
right?
colony.
Over here, over. Oh, that's over there. Yeah.
That's a really deep trench. I saw them in the middle of the day one day. It's a hugely deep trench. I actually think they're redoing some kind of a wasteland.
So, as we were saying, well, that was a great conversation about Oakland and everything, but let's back up. So,
Right. So I was spending my nights processing autopsy photographs taken by some cop of the burial, exhumation, and autopsy of Gwen Araujo, which was horrible. And it kind of got to me. And it was the first summer after my mother had died. And I found myself walking out in the middle of the night and just wandering around in the hot nights just to clear my head of these horrible images. And I knew that I wanted to do something with the scanner, something to make something beautiful, because I was using the scanner to scan the slides that of the autopsy. And that summer, actually, I went around to Open Studios with my best friend James Serwin and his now wife Lisa, and encountered the imagery of a woman named Jan Camp. And she had put flowers on a scanner and tacks and had little chicks run across the surface of the scanner. Just beautiful, beautiful work. And instantly I knew I wanted to rip her off. And I felt kind of badly about it.
You copy after not physically rip her off, right?
Right, no, exactly. To emulate her work. And I did. I started to actually steal the flowers from little gardens as I was walking by. And I was very kind about it. I never stole a flower that was clear, that was the only one or that someone cherished.
You're on camera and TV now.
I liberated them. And brought them home and scanned them. And found that they were just fabulously beautiful images because the scanner can get incredibly close.
Yeah.
And so I now print those images 6 feet tall. And with no loss of resolution. And they're beautiful. It's hard to screw up a flower. Flowers are gorgeous.
Yeah.
And all props to Jan Camp for introducing me to that method. But the more I got into that, the more I realized I just couldn't practice longer. And it wasn't because of that, but I was at the same time, I was overwhelmed by it. It was, I never felt that I did a good enough job for any one of my clients.
Wow.
I felt that, and I was told by other people that you do a fabulous job, you're a great lawyer, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I was very successful. But
isn't that part of being a good lawyer, is you never feel like you have ever done your best work?
Well, it could be, but I didn't want to live that way. I mean, I felt like I was giving people short shrift. I mean, I wasn't giving people their day in court, even though I was doing as good as the next guy.
You want to do better than the next guy?
No, it wasn't that. It wasn't about doing better than the next guy. I wanted to do what their case deserved. If someone has a tiny, tiny case, they nevertheless deserve to have all of their rights enforced. But you can't do that and survive. You can't, because if you did that, you wouldn't be able to handle enough cases.
You know, off camera, you said something I thought was really interesting. You said that in the old days,
I'm told.
Yeah, you're told that the DA used to...
Well, the master calendar judge and the district attorney and the public defender, or I guess the public defender, would get together over a bottle of whatever, scotch, at the courthouse lounge, which is now the Ruby Room.
Ah, I didn't know that.
This is what I'm told. And would resolve the remaining cases of the week. And it sounds like fun, but
like
nowadays... Well, the last thing I saw of anything like that was a judge who's now deceased, whose sons are district attorneys. I went into his chambers. This is the last chambers you could smoke cigarettes in. And he kept 2 liquor cabinets, one for the in-town lawyers and one for the out-of-town lawyers. But it was a fabulous guy. And you could handle a lot more cases, and there's some advantages to that system, but ultimately it wasn't exposed to the light of day.
You also said it was racist.
Well, it's racist today, too.
Yeah.
I mean, it was racist then because people weren't made to be aware of their own predispositions towards racism, their own biases, prejudices. Today, it's racist by a combination of socioeconomic circumstances and under policing. There are not enough police, and therefore they are embattled. And because of history and economics, the crimes are committed by poor people.
Yeah.
Basically, and there are more, it seems, poor people of color or Hispanic and black poor people in Oakland who get arrested and convicted of crimes than there are white people. Asian people seem to not get as convicted or caught.
But interestingly, I went to a party in an area of town I won't mention, it was in Oakland, and I don't do drugs, but I saw, and this was a all-white neighborhood in San Francisco, the Marina District. Yeah,
drugs everywhere.
Exactly. They brought out this cocaine, which I don't do, and I said I didn't want any, but it occurred to me, you know what? If there were cops around here, just knocking on doors, they could make a killing. But it's like this.
In those neighborhoods, the cops would be doing the drugs with.
That's my point. Isn't that weird? Isn't that wrong?
Yeah. Well, drugs are an odd issue because they are the violence that comes with drugs. The physical, immediate, direct violence comes from its illegality. Mm-hmm. The violence against your life and your responsibilities is a different matter, but alcohol does the same thing. There are lots of disorders that do the same thing. But the real hardcore violence around drugs are because it's prohibited. Yeah. And it's what they call malum prohibitum and not malum in se. Malum in se being something which is wrong in and of itself.
Yeah.
Homicide.
Yeah.
Or murder, I should say. But the other problem I had was with the consequences. Jail. Anyway, we were talking about racism.
Right.
You're familiar with the old examples of racism. A current example of racism was one of the things I just couldn't take was when a black man would be arrested for a felony of any kind, a new felony in Oakland after dark. They would threaten this person with prison or no time at all as long as they accepted a curfew as part of their probation. And what that meant was they had to be in their house by 10 and not leave before 8. Which was asinine to me. Yeah. It made sense from the district attorney's point of view. The district attorney who was imposing these things was himself a black man. But from a police officer's point of view, it just enhanced the suspicion that a black man out after dark
was in trouble. Because it's like, you have the curfew, and then they police those areas where the curfew is imposed, which is kind of redlining, right?
Yeah. Well, it was...
Is this still being done, to your knowledge?
I don't know. This was years ago.
Yeah.
It may or may. I don't know if it's still being done. But I've been stopped by police many times, all for legitimate reasons, usually for bad tags. Only once have I been jacked up by the cops.
Bad registration tags or something?
Apologized to me.
Yeah, really. Bad registration tags or something?
Yeah, expired registration tags. They pull you over or whatever.
Yeah. Give you a ticket.
Right. But I was going through Orinda once, and 8 Orinda police pulled me over. And lied. They said I was weaving and drunk, and I wasn't drinking, hadn't been drinking, everything was fine. And they apologized to me. But if I'd been black, that would have been a full felony stop, guns to my neck.
And that's what's wrong with racial profiling, because they said they have to, and then they say they're going by the book, right? But with you, they weren't going by the book.
Well, I would.
You see what I'm getting at?
I don't know. What's the book?
Well, that's what their argument always is when they say, it's racial. When someone says it's racial profiling, they say we're going by the book. Well,
racial profiling doesn't govern how you behave after the stop. It's whether you conduct the stop to begin with.
Interesting.
And then you get to situations like what happened with that mixing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the officers. And I knew all of them. I'd met all of them. The kid and the cops. And it's just tragedy all around. But you get these kids who live their entire lives anticipating being arrested.
Is it also stressful to be such a part of Oakland, and then, you've been in a lot of interesting cases, but then you have to go out and sometimes see people you work with, and so you almost carry the work with you, and as an artist you can sort of get away from that? This is like, look at this. This is
this work is fun.
Shangri-La,
This work is fun.
Yeah.
Well, carrying the work with you isn't that bad. I had friends who were district attorneys who were nervous at first going out to dinner because they'd be eating dinner in the same restaurant with somebody they just got sentenced to prison. But I never had a problem with any of that because I was very, very proud of what I did, and I believed in what I did, and I still believe in the work that criminal lawyers do. I come from a whole family of lawyers. My father's a lawyer, my mother was a lawyer, my brother's a lawyer, my sister might as well be a lawyer. No, my brother's in Palo Alto. He's a fabulous business lawyer, does internet stuff. My father's a trust and estates attorney right here in Oakland. My uncle's a justice of the Court of Appeal, and my aunt and uncle are both judges in Alameda County. from a big family of lawyers.
Yeah. Wow.
But
What did they say to your career change?
different things, and they're mostly
Oh no.
mostly very kind.
That's good.
Because I remember my my then fiance's mother said, "Well, if you want to stick it to your father, that's how you do it." And I felt badly about that, but they've all seen what a happier person I am now, and I really am. I mean, I'm just a happier person. I didn't.
You seem that you're at ease.
Yeah, I really am.
Yeah.
I'm much more at ease. I'm broken happy.
So what are these other artworks? What's this eye all about, man?
I was just messing around with a infrared camera. It's not my eye, so I can't.
Oh, by the way, what advice do you have? Because
Oh,
this is a bad economy. I have no people coming out of law school next year, and they're scared to death. What advice do you have for them?
in terms of what? You know?
Well, I mean,
How
should they
to
be a
survive.
lawyer? Yeah, how to survive. I mean,
I don't know. I didn't do a very good job of that. As a lawyer, I didn't survive. I ended up leaving. I was there for 10 years.
that's a long time, Thomas. A lot of people would disagree with you,
Okay,
myself
well,
included. You know.
I didn't consider it survival. You know?
Well, you also didn't consider yourself successful, and yet you helped a lot of people.
Yeah, well, I was also very politically successful, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You know? But, yeah, I did. You know, I helped a lot of people, and I hopefully I helped a lot of people. The ones you remember, the ones you screwed over.
Well, that's like a coach. You know, you always remember the games you lost, right? You know.
I mean, my advice to anybody getting out of law school would be the same as my advice to anyone, which is attend to how you spend your day. You know, try to live a life where you enjoy what you do.
Yeah.
And-
Find your passion.
Right.
Like
Find
you
your
found
passion.
your passion.
The
Right?
law is a wonderful career because it can lead you into anywhere.
Yeah.
you know?
Like here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my brother does fabulous work as a lawyer, which is completely different from mine. You know, my father's work as a lawyer is also completely different from mine. My sister is not a practicing lawyer, but she has, through circumstances in helping a friend, had a hand in hopefully changing the law of China. And you can do it. You can do anything you want to do.
How do people find your material? Are you developing it? Do you have a website yet, or what's?
Oh, well, developing the website, one's blog, scanart.blogspot.com, and then soon, hopefully, will be Solid Arts.
Solid Arts.
Right.
.com or .org?
I believe it's .com,
Okay. Solid. Cool.
which my sister and I are doing together. Because we do, it's funny, we both create artwork, none of which is related to the law, and most of which cannot be put on the internet. Or, you know, images can, but the artwork itself can't. But really, actually, I came up with a saying in trying to explain to my father the difference between he and I. And that was, to be happy as a lawyer, you have to be happy being a lawyer.
Yeah.
It's not a job. It's a way of life. I miss lawyers. I miss the sense of humor, and I miss the...
Camaraderie.
Well, I miss the wit, and I miss the... But I don't miss the degradation of human life down to a number of years.
Yeah, it sounds like, you know, I have to get this in because it sounds like, it reminds me of Thomas Wolfe and Bonfire of the Vanities and
Never
Sherman
read it,
McCoy. He was a bond trader, but then he went to the wrong side of town. To make a long story, he wound up getting arrested and seeing the other side of society that you handle. And it was described by Thomas Wolfe as the social trash of society. And I never. And do you think that affects one's mentality about how they think about people?
I had one of my last clients was alleged to be a shot caller in the Kumi Nation. He was a big alleged crack dealer. He was set up by the Oakland police, but he was a fabulous guy, a very nice guy. And I sat, when I withdrew from his case, I quit, gave him his money back, and I sat with him for
Really?
hours. Yeah, I sat with him for hours in a cell, and we came to the conclusion that had he grew up in my circumstances, he would be wearing the tie. And if I had grown up in his, I would be behind bars. Because he made the most of what he had, what he was shown when he grew up. So no, I don't see that distinction. The trash of society.
Right.
The trash of society are both in the law as lawyers and in the defendant side. They're everywhere, and that's just people who are not compassionate and who think only of themselves. Those are the trash of society.
Hey, congratulations, man.
I think everybody within a sense knows that.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good way to close, but we'll be back. We'll talk to him another time, too. All right. Thanks.
Thank you.